I thought I found a man who was going to love me through thick and thin, but then I realized he actually wanted my sister. I read through his laptop when he was in the shower. Yeah, call it whatever you want to call it, invasion of privacy, yada yada yada. I found out his secret. He made my sister his secretary at his architecture firm, and guess what? He wants to have an affair. Well, I secretly went behind his back and filed for divorce with evidence. And now I'm taking 65% of his stuff and alimony. And you won't believe what his mother, my mother-in-law, has to say. I'm Hazel, the prettiest girl in town. Kidding aside, that's partially true. I was the captain of the cheerleading squad when I was in high school, the soccer team's muse, and most importantly, the prom queen. See, I'm not kidding at all. The moment I stepped into school, all eyes were focused on me. That's how much of a goddess I was, and still am. And of course, my beauty captured the heart of the basketball team captain, Jacob. Jacob and I were high school sweethearts. Everyone in the school knew that we were each other's perfect half. When Jacob and I got together, I did not actually think that we would end up getting married. Oh yeah, you got it right. We're happily married. I thought what we had was just some kind of puppy love. But here we are, still each other's sweethearts, and speaking of which, Jacob just got home from work. He told me how much he missed me, even though he had just been out at work for 8 hours. I went to give him the warmest of hugs, as if we had not just seen each other earlier before he went to work. As usual, he bought something for me again. This man does not come home with nothing in his hands. And guess what he got me? A bouquet of tulips, a whole box of pizza, and a bottle of wine. I guess he wants us to chill and just watch a movie tonight. I forgot to tell you that Jacob is now an architect and he manages his own firm. He goes to work at 10 in the morning and goes right home at 6 in the evening. Before he goes to work, I always make sure that he gets to eat breakfast, so I prepared it for him. I always pack him extra snacks and lunch, and my husband works 8 hours a day, and I have to make sure that he's still eating right, even at work. After his duty, he comes home right away, and that's when we usually become lovey-dovey. I am not working because he said he didn't want me to tire myself. I used to have my own fashion boutique before we got married, but he made me give it up because he did not want to see me exhausted and stressed out from it. And who am I to say no? I love fashion design and my fancy little boutique, but I also wanted to be a stay-at-home wife. But honestly, I also get bored sometimes. Waiting for him while he's at work sucks the most. So obviously, I invite my girlfriends to come over to our house sometimes. From time to time, I also visit my mom and sister. Oh gosh, I miss them. Why am I so emotional? Anyways, they're just an hour away from me. It's not as if they've moved to another country, and anyways, you might be wondering why we still have no kids. Jacob actually wants to have kids already, but I said I still don't want to, and I don't know. I just don't feel like having kids yet, you know? Don't get me wrong, I like the idea. But anyways, I love my husband and his genes. He's such a hottie. And apart from his characteristics, that's mainly the reason why he got me so hooked up to him when we were teens. I'd love for our kids in the future to look just like him. Well, I've got a secret that I've never told anyone. I think it's because it just does not matter, but maybe it's because I should not feel this way. Just the thought of it's already making me giggle like a teenage girl. Aside from Jacob, there's actually another man that I'm attracted to. Don't get me wrong, I never acted on my attraction to him or even told anyone about it. It's just really because he is so darn handsome. No eye can deny it, and his face says it all. Once you look at him, you can never deny his good looks. I mean, I'm telling you. Every girl in high school used to have a crush on him too. Aside from Jacob, Dave Dave definitely drove all the girls crazy. But unlike my husband, he was not the vocal type. He was quiet. He was the type of guy who used to stay at the library just to study during his free time, and oh yeah, he's a close friend of mine. I actually don't know how our friendship began. If I were not so in love with Jacob back then, I would have thought it was Dave who would get a grip on my tiny heart. Dave and I were close, but not to the point where Jacob would get jealous. I knew my limitations, and so did David, and because of that, Jacob did not say anything. Okay, let's get back to the present now. Oh, I really love my life. I enjoy having a lavish lifestyle, a loving husband, and a cozy home. My husband and I are sitting next to each other on the couch, and we're currently watching a romantic movie. We're enjoying the box of pizza that he got for us and the bottle of wine so we can have a nice sleep later. Moments later, the movie showed two married couples having a double date, and oh girl, an idea just popped up. I quickly and excitedly faced my husband and, well, I told him my idea. I asked if we could arrange a double date with SHazelhia and Dave, as both of them are still single. He smiled timidly and said yes. It looked forced, but I didn't mind. It's Friday today, and Jacob is free during the weekend, so everything is just perfect. I quickly called SHazelhia, and, well, she said we should give it a try. I also messaged Dave about my idea, and he said he would do it for me. His reply made me think, but my excitement about the double date is what escalated my mood. This is going to be so much fun. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you guys are having an absolutely fantastic day. I do have multiple updates for this one, and if you think the story is just calm sailing, well, it's about to get rough seas. Update number 1. My expectations disappointed me. What did I even think that our double date would be like? Something out of a movie scene? This is horrendous. SHazelhia and Dave are so aloof they could not even look at each other. I'm so wrong to expect them to click in an instant, but it's not even like they don't know each other. We all went on the same school, and didn't they even have any good interactions before? I invited them to watch a movie and just eat dinner together afterward. I understand that they won't really be able to talk inside the cinema because it's not allowed. But what the heck? Why are they acting like cowardly teenagers? My sister has always been a flirt, and she leads every good-looking guy that comes her way on. Her silence right now is new to me. When we were in the cinema earlier, I had my husband sit on my left side, Sophia on my right, and Dave beside Sophia, and guess what? My sister is acting strangely. It's if her every move is calculated and someone's watching her. Now that we're having dinner, it's even more awkward. I awkwardly smile at Dave because I knew that he had to cancel his appointment just so he could do what I've asked. Well, he's such a workaholic. I just want to see him loosen up a bit, and my sister is also free, so I thought about pairing them together. For those of you who don't know, Dave is a lawyer. A divorce lawyer, to be exact. Oh no. Now that I'm reminded of it, perhaps that's really the reason why he wants to stay unmarried. Why did I not realize that before? He's already aware of the possible complications of being married and having to divorce afterward. Oh my goodness, the thought of it makes me feel so darn embarrassed. Who am I to decide on pairing him with my sister? I'll never do this again. I avoided Dave's glance because of my one-sided embarrassment, and I excused myself to the comfort room to freshen up. While staring at the mirror, I noticed Dave standing outside like he was waiting for me or something. I went to him and asked why he followed me, and to my surprise, he just told me that I look stunning in my red stilettos and red dress. I don't know if it's because I'm still embarrassed or because of what he said, but my heart is definitely not beating like usual. While walking back towards our table, I saw SHazelhia and Jacob laughing. It's as if they're having a good time. Something inside me felt uneasy. but I just disregarded it, and when they saw me approaching closer to our table, their laughs faded into timid smiles. I was about to pull the chair so I could easily sit again, but Dave pulled it for me. I didn't even notice that he was behind me, and I smiled at him and said thank you. When Dave and I returned to the table, Jacob and SHazelhia did not talk again. I don't know if it's because SHazelhia felt awkward in Dave's presence or what. I don't know. But I don't like what I saw earlier. I know it's not right to put a malice in their actions, but something about SHazelhia's gesture earlier is not normal. After dinner, we decided to go home. Dave, being the gentleman that he is, offered to drive SHazelhia home, but Jacob suddenly interfered and said we could just drive her home instead. That made him look suspicious to me, and I want to confront him, but not in front of my sister. I don't want to seem immature, to be honest. When we got to my mom and SHazelhia's house, I was the first to get out of the car and just hurriedly knocked on the door. I miss my mom so much. The thought of seeing her made me forget about what I felt about SHazelhia and Jacob earlier. Mom opened the door and was very grateful to see me. She hugged me tight, and I did too, and I really am her favorite. When I was getting married, she was so sad that I would not be living with them anymore, so she wished that it should have been SHazelhia who got married earlier, and Mom suddenly broke the hug and her look became very stern. She was gazing behind me, and when I turned, it was Jacob and SHazelhia. He was carrying her in bridal style. Update number 2. Seeing them like that made my blood boil. I know how much of a flirt Sophia is, and she used to like Jacob. I did not make any deal out of it before, but she's getting on my nerves right now. It makes me think that she purposely slept, knowing that Jacob was the only one who would carry her. But Jacob could have just woken her up and made her walk. Why would he even carry her? Just like me, Mom also did not like what she saw. She woke SHazelhia up and asked Jacob to put her down on the couch, and she told her how it's not okay to have a married man carry her, especially if it's her husband. She also told her that it's nice to see Jacob being good to the team, but she should not take advantage of it, and Mom values her morals, and she does not condone anyone who does it the other way around. I'm thankful that she was with me in this, and SHazelhia apologized to Mom, but not to me. That girl is really sick in the head. I just rolled my eyes at her and walked out of the house. When Jacob and I got home, he told me not to think badly about the situation earlier. He said he could not wake up SHazelhia, so he carried her instead, and yes, he apologized, but I didn't say anything. I could not just ignore what I saw. I'm succumbing to jealousy, and because I did not want to say anything, he just went to the shower. I decided to wait for him to finish so I could clean myself up before going to bed. While waiting for Jacob, his phone suddenly vibrated, and I decided to check his phone. It was a message from my sister. It says, "Hi, Jacob. Thanks for driving me home and carrying me earlier. I'm so glad to see you. Hopefully I'll see you again soon." I didn't even know what they had each other's phone numbers. There was no other messages aside from what I read, and it made me think again. Did SHazelhia text him for the first time, or did he just constantly delete everything so I would not see it? I was about to check his phone calls too, but Jacob, who just got out of the shower, suddenly snatched his phone out of my hand. Huh? What was that for? I looked at him with confusion, and he said I should not be looking through his phone without his permission. I yelled at him out of frustration, and he suddenly started acting strangely. He grabbed my hand and warned me not to do it again, and I pulled back my hand and pushed him away. He didn't have to be so aggressive, you know. This man is definitely hiding something from me, and I walked out from behind him and went straight to the bathroom to shower. I was so frustrated that I did not even notice that I was already spending too much time in the shower. After showering, I went straight to bed and forced myself to get some sleep. When I woke up the next day, he was no longer in the bed. I smiled, assuming that he was preparing breakfast for the two of us. But my smile, stopped when I went to the kitchen but saw there is no food prepared. I roamed the whole house and he was nowhere to be found. I called his phone, but I could not reach him. Again, this is the first time. He never ignored my call, and I spent an hour wondering if I had done something wrong to him just to act this way. An hour later, I received a message saying he had just gone to the grocery store, so I checked the fridge, I checked the pantry, and true to his words, we no longer had many supplies. Why did I even forget? Sunday is our grocery day. Nonetheless, I decided to check the grocery store where we usually go to see if he was really there. Call me crazy or what, but I just realized I'm already having trust issues because of how he snatched his phone from my hand last night. Wow. I hailed a taxi because Jacob took the car. As we were approaching the grocery store, I saw SHazelhia and Jacob walking out of the store with smiles on their face. SHazelhia also holding on to his biceps. I hurriedly walked to where they were standing and pulled my husband away from her. What the hell was this woman thinking? I eyed her from head to toe, but she did not even seem to care. She even had the audacity to mock and smile at me before walking away. But before she could walk further from us, I pulled her hair. I shouted at her, getting the attention of other people. I warned my sister not to flirt with my husband, or else I would do something she would not ever want. I was about to slap her to satisfy myself, but Jacob stopped my hand before it even could hit his face. Really? He's really going to defend her? What trash is he? He told me to stop being so scandalous, but I said I was not the one being scandalous, it was the two of them. I was furious I could not control myself, and I kept on punching Jacob's chest until I got tired. SHazelhia is no longer there, and she must be so embarrassed because there were so many, people who were watching us. Jacob held my arm and dragged me towards the car, and my tears started pouring like raindrops. This man did not even bother explaining anything to me. He just drove back home like nothing happened. Update number 3. So, the next day when Jacob went to work, I went to Dave's law firm. He advised me to divorce him, but not right away. He told me that in order for the law to favor me, I had to have proof and evidence of Jacob and SHazelhia having an affair. After that, I went straight home. I don't want Jacob to know I went to a divorce lawyer yet. When Jacob got home, he was still acting like nothing happened, and so did I. The thoughts in my mind are starting to turn crazy. I diverted my attention and decided to do the things that I usually do. Jacob spends most of his time on his laptop. I used to think it was because of work, but after witnessing what I saw earlier, he could have been using it to talk to SHazelhia. Being on his phone would be suspicious, so using his laptop was the safest way. I'm disappointed not only in him, but also in myself. I'm being fooled right in front of my face, but I did not notice because I trusted him so darn much. He went to the bathroom to pee, and he's confident that I would not look at his laptop because I never really looked at it. Not today. I quickly went to where his laptop was, and I was right. My hand started trembling, and I already expected it, but I did not expect my body to react this way. I couldn't move, and my eyes were starting to water. When I heard the toilet flush, it sent me back to my senses, and I snapped a picture of his laptop screen before going back to where I was sitting. I read their conversation through the picture that I took, and it crushed my soul. SHazelhia works as his secretary. The next day, Jacob went to work early, and I hired someone to go to his firm and pretend as if they were a client, planning to have their house renovated, and I ordered them to secretly leave a tiny camera. It's connected to my phone, and as soon as they did, I could already see everything. SHazelhia is really his secretary. When their client left the firm, SHazelhia sat on Jacob's lap and kissed him. These two have no shame. It'll make them pay for everything, and I swear they will pay for it. Literally and figuratively. They messed with the wrong person. I went to Mom's house and she was wondering why I was there, and I said I just missed her. Of course I lied. I do miss Mom, but that's not the reason I went there. I'm waiting for SHazelhia here. I will teach this jerk a lesson. I've always been good to her, but she repaid me with something else. I could not imagine exactly what she was thinking. I'm her sister. Yet this is what she does. I know Mom would disown her once she found out what SHazelhia had been doing. She's going to lose me and Mom, and I won't even have the tiniest regret for doing this. When SHazelhia got home, she was shocked to see me. I smiled wildly, but changed it to a stern face. I walked to her and grabbed her hair. She's smaller than me, so she could not do a thing. Mom panicked and asked me to stop, but I simply said no. I ordered Mother to look at the photos and videos on my phone while SHazelhia was struggling to remove my hands from her hair. Well, Mom was trembling when she saw everything. She was furious, and no one could stop her. I let go of SHazelhia's hair once I saw how angry Mom was, and I smirked at her. Poor SHazelhia. Just like what I expected, Mom slapped her hand, and I told you, our mother does not tolerate anything illicit or immoral. SHazelhia should have known better. SHazelhia was slapped by my mom not once, not twice, but 3 times. Her whole face was red, and the side of her lips even bled. There's no remorse in my mother's face. She meant every slap that she gave to SHazelhia. SHazelhia weakly sat on the floor and just cried, and I stood in front of her and told her that she would not get to enjoy her life ever again. She'll always be branded as someone who stole her sister's husband. Mom walked out, or so I thought. Minutes later, she came back with 2 suitcases, and they weren't even properly closed. Some clothes are still peeping out. It's very obvious that Mom rushed to stuff SHazelhia's clothing in there. Mom left the suitcase outside the house, went to SHazelhia and dragged her outside. SHazelhia was wailing and asking for forgiveness, and she looked like the mess that she was in. I just watched Mom do everything. After disowning SHazelhia, Mom went to me and cupped my face. The angry look that she had while dealing with SHazelhia earlier was no longer there. She looked at me with fondness. I cried. She was saying sorry because of what I had to go through. As much as I wanted to stay with Mom and be safe under her care, I told her I still had to deal with Jacob. SHazelhia was outside and she was talking to somebody on the phone while crying her heart out. I snatched the phone from her and it was Jacob. I aggressively smashed it, making sure she could no longer use it. I gave her the slap that I was not able to give Jacob when, he stopped me before. The sides of her lips bled even more, and she was about to slap me back. But I stopped her hand. She told me that Jacob cheated on me with her because she's better. But I told her she's no better than me because I was never a mistress like her. After that, I left her gritting her teeth like a dog. I went home only to see Jacob enraged, and the nerve of this man. I should have been the one acting like it. He welcomed me with his loud, angry voice, asking why I did it to SHazelhia. The pain in my heart disappeared. All I can feel right now is disgust and anger towards them. He grabbed my arm, forcing me to answer his questions, and I collected my strength and pushed him away. He told me that he would divorce me and he would marry SHazelhia. What he said made me laugh. He really thinks he could just do it because he wants to. I told him that he's trash, absolutely trash, and I won't stop him from doing it, but I would take 65% of our wealth and property. He laughed at me as if what I said was something funny. He told me I could not do it, but I said words that made him silent. Dave got my back, so watch me watch you drown in poverty. Update number 4. After saying those words, I walked out of the house and went straight to Dave's. I told him about what happened. That night, I also filed for divorce and sent it to Jacob. I did not go back home because I no longer felt safe around him. I slept at Dave's house, and thankfully, he had a spare room for guests. The next day, I woke up because of the smell of food. I went to Dave's kitchen, and there he was, wearing a fitted gray shirt and an apron. He smiled and said, "Breakfast is ready." I never experienced this with Jacob. I was always the one to prepare the food. After eating, I asked him to drive me to my mother's house. I just need her right now. When I got there, I told my mom that I had already filed for divorce, and she told me how proud she was of me, and one thing that we have in common is the fact that no matter how much we love, if they do something that is unacceptable, we won't think twice about cutting ties with them. Mom let me cry and be a damsel in distress for the whole day. She knew I needed to let my emotions out, and she even bought me a whole bucket of ice cream, saying that it would somehow comfort me, and it really did. Mom also cooked my favorite dinner. While eating, someone suddenly knocked on the door in an aggressive manner. It was my mother-in-law. How does she even know that I'm here? This evil woman never liked me or for her son. When I opened the door, anger was plastered all over her face. She threw the divorce papers at me, and I guess her son went to her like a baby. They are pathetic little mama's boy he is. She yelled at me about 65% property and wealth, and that I was demanding a lot, and I knew it. She was not even concerned about the divorce. She was concerned about how much his son would lose. Mother suddenly popped out, and she pushed my mother-in-law away, or should I say my ex-mother-in-law now? Mom yelled at Caitlin, saying that I have all the right to demand everything, but Caitlin's arguments were nonsense. She even said that SHazelhia was better than me, and that she should have been the one that Jacob married, like her son and SHazelhia. This woman is also sick in the head. Before I even realized it, my mom stood in front of her to protect me from her humiliating words. I don't even have to defend myself. My mother is always willing to do it to those who wronged me. Caitlin was about to pick up a fight with my mom's hair, but I told her everything's recorded in CCTV, and even if she tried to touch my mom, I'll just call the cops and get her arrested. She made a mistake by coming here alone. She's dead meat in my eyes, and I lost the tiniest bit of respect that I had for her. I told her to go away before I could even do something worse to her and her cowardly son. Mom assured me that everything would be okay soon, and I just nodded. I know I'm not the one who's going to suffer. The next day, somebody was banging on the door again. This time, it was Jacob. So I faced him with the most serious face I could ever show. I'm not playing with this man. I will do everything I can to ruin his reputation, just like his mother did. He threw me the divorce papers, and like mother or like son. I looked at the paper and saw that it was already signed by him, and I unconsciously smiled, but it faded when Jacob said I could try claiming 65% of everything, but I would not be able to do so. I sarcastically laughed at him. He was not aware of the evidence that I have against him. I did not say anything to him, but slammed the door closed. I quickly called Dave and told him that the divorce paper was already signed. In the following days, Dave and I were busy processing my divorce when the court finally signed the divorce decree and granted me 65% of everything that I and Jacob had during our marriage. I knew I had already won. I smiled in my ears and jumped out of happiness, and Jacob deserves what he's about to go through. Not long after the divorce, rumors spread that SHazelhia and Jacob were already planning to get married, but I no longer care about them. I'm already at peace. Mom also refused to walk SHazelhia down the aisle. It was only my witch of an ex-mother-in-law who supported the two. I also heard that it was only a simple wedding because they could not afford a grand one. Serves them right. 2 months after Jacob and SHazelhia got married, they filed for divorce. If only you knew how Mom and I laughed that day. The reason for their divorce was that they no longer had any money. They could not support themselves any longer, and they were constantly fighting over it. What's even funnier is that Jacob's architectural firm went bankrupt. They thought they would be happy once they got rid of me and married each other, but oh no! They will forever live in their mistakes' shadows. Karma serving them what they truly deserve, and when they divorced, SHazelhia went to my mother and begged for her life, thinking Mom would take her back in, but Mom is not like that. She filed a restraining order against SHazelhia, and Mom told me that she loves her youngest daughter too, but it would take a long time to forgive her. As for me, well, I'm now happy with Dave. Remember when I shared with you the reason why he's still single? It turns out that he was not lying. He really liked a girl he could not have, and that was me. But that was before. Dave showed me the most genuine care and love that I could ever feel, and he showed me what genuine love really feels like. When he confessed his feelings to me, I told him I still had to heal a bit from the trauma that Jacob has given me. Dave was with me on my journey, though. He waited until I was fully healed, but little did he know that I was already falling in love with him during the process. Dave and I took everything slowly. We allowed each other to fully know one another before committing to a relationship, and we enjoyed every single second together. We went to places we've never been before, tried things that we've never done before, and love each other more than we'd ever loved before. Dave and I got married just 2 years after my divorce from Jacob. Now I can finally say this is what a real marriage looks like. One that heals. I mean, the irony of this one, that OP's husband would go behind her back just to get with her sister, and well, her sister was something else, SHazelhia. But let's not forget how the story ended. It didn't only end in one divorce, it ended in 2. After OP's ex-husband went through all this financial ruin. But to top this story off, not only did it have a betraying sister, a dirty husband, it also had an insane mother-in-law, who, by the way, didn't seem to care that her baby boy was a cheater. No, she only cared about the assets that he was going to lose in the divorce. So this story had everything: drama, deceit, betrayal, revenge, karma, you name it. I want to hear from you guys, so go ahead, drop your thoughts directly below. This story was nuts. If you guys are new to the channel, hello, my name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate and animate stories every single day, and if you just can't get enough, hit that subscribe button. Check out the description below, because I have multiple channels, which I post on daily. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and remember, it's cool to be kind. And this video is probably going to come out after the 4th of July, but today is the 4th of July when I'm recording this, so happy 4th of July. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic day.